group is confirmed by Mateo, Lucas, and Juan David for this activity. We will talk about the principle number one. The principle number one is by side of human rights. The principle is that companies must support and respect the protection of internationally proclaimed human rights. The respect for human rights is not only the work of society and governments. This also part of the business because not respecting these rights can bring costs to the company that were not expected and also many risks. By making use of this principle in the companies, not only is responsibility encouraged with society, but at the same time a very close and timely relationship between the company and the interest groups is achieved. To achieve a good scope when respecting human rights, companies should consider several points, among which are the local context, emphasis the activity of the company toward the fulfillment of human rights, and very important to analyze the relationships that the company has, both internal and external, to demonstrate the commitment to comply with this principle. For the elaboration of this work based on principle number one, the team has taken the decision to choose the country of Canada.
Canada as a government must encourage employment or employment generation through support subsidies for the creation of maintenance of companies, thus generating stable and durable companies that generate a lot of employment among people living in Canada. Given the high rate of employment, informality, and unemployment, especially in young people. The only problem that can exist with subsidies is that they tend to lengthen the time that unemployment lasts. This is because they reduce people effort to find about nice sources of income since money is constantly coming from the government. The problem gets worse when the subsidies are indefinite. That is, if the people receive an indefinite subsidy, the work to get more income will get better. Then the economy will be affected will the government give subsidies and receive less taxes. To combat this problem should generate another strategy, but more focuses on education. Educate the maximum to all employers to grow the nation as good capitalists and not waste the labor subsidies that Canadian government was providing them.
Canada has several global companies, a good reputation abroad, sports products, service, technologies, and their culture. Canada shows that the extractive sector can help create a country. Our extractive companies in the mining, oil and natural gas sectors make a major contribution to Canadian prosperity and are making important contribution to economic development. The Corporate Social Responsibility (CSR) strategy. This strategy points to Canada employment of promoting, defining as the voluntary activities carried out by a company. Beyond the legal requirements to work in an economically, socially, and environmentally sustaining manner. The key elements of the unchanged CSR strategy are greater support for CSR initiatives in the network of Canadian diplomatic missions abroad in order to achieve a high level of coherence in service related to CSR to the business company Canadians around the world, creating networks and local alliances with communities and strengthening leadership, excellence, and Canadian best practice in the extractive sector. Companies are expected to comply with CSR guidelines, something that will be recognized by the Office of the Controller of CSR, which will decide the admissible companies to the improved economic diplomacy of the government of Canada.
In Canada, human rights are developed in very appropriate manner in all areas, which can be evidenced by different categories. Right of indigenous people, to respect and protect the rights of indigenous people by fighting against discrimination, specialized medical attention and by supporting the United Nations on the right of indigenous people. Women's rights. The government created an international feminist assistance policy, which allows for the protection of women's rights, inequality of gender, sexual and reproductive rights, and religious neutrality. Right of expression of gender. In Canada, a legislation on identity and expression of gender was approved. Security and anti-terrorism measures. Legal reforms were made to national security and the review and supervision of security agencies. System of justice by means of a judicial sentence, unconstitutional reclusion in solitary confinement. Rights of refugees and migrants. The detention of minors for reason of immigration was stopped, giving access to essential medicine to all people in Canada. Rendition of accounts of the companies. It is sought to create a defense of the people for issues of human rights applicable to companies. In addition to a free trade agreement between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, that includes proposals for equality of gender and peoples indigenous. Legal news. There is a law of justice for victims or serious violation of human rights.